Welcome back, everyone, to the Mike Gormley Show. We're listening to or talking to Vicky Hamilton, author and veteran of the Los Angeles music scene, including managing Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and a lot of other bands. We just heard, actually, on the way out, we heard Guns N' Roses. On the way back in, we heard Faster Pussycat. What is it? When there's a whip, there's a way.
Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Okay.
I really want that one in my TV series, so that's why I
Yeah.
chose
It could be some of these songs won't make it into the TV show.
it. Yeah, hopefully they will.
Um, so anyway, poetry has, I was going to say entered your life, but it's obviously been there for quite a while. And
Started with poetry. I started writing when I was like 15. It's always been sort of a tool for me to work through my problems. So,
well, I was going to ask because this is a pretty big book, a thick book. I wondered how far back and the earliest poem in there might come from, what era.
well, I put 5 from the beginning days from the 70s. Those ones are not that good, but I put them in because for people that write poetry, they can see that you get better as time goes on. I wanted it to be inspirational in that way as well.
Well, that's cool because it is a lot of the poems are, well, the good word is informational. You're learning something as you read through them.
A lot of them are about gnarly shit that happened in the record industry. It's like, that's part of it anyway.
Yeah, uh, I noticed in some of the poems there's seemingly anger. Uh, I would think from some of the words you were talking, the things you were talking about. And there's one called Time that seems to get into a little dissatisfaction with your work at the time. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. I mean, like I said, I write poetry to work through my problems, and sometimes just by writing it, it makes the anger go away. So,
Yeah, that's good. But by reading it, it can help some people that way.
yeah, and I think anybody that's going into the record business would gain from like reading it. So,
There's still a lot of people going into the record industry, and um, the question is, what would that be like now? I mean, we were both relatively young when we got into it, but starting now, it's just a different world, right?
yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I never dropped out completely because I don't think I would know this world, the streaming world and playlisting and all that. But I went from the 80s way to now and I just stayed in. So, I mean, for anybody that was working in it earlier and like didn't know how it is now, I don't know if they'd be able to do it. But yeah.
Well, you probably you come out of school and life in general, you can't avoid it anymore. You'd learn almost by osmosis, I think,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
which I wish we could have done. Would have been much easier, but we had to figure it out step by step as it came into existence. As exciting as it was, I'm not a tech guy, so I was like, oh God, what's all this stuff? But you figure it out.
Well, we used to give away t-shirts to sell records. Now we give away records to sell t-shirts. It's
It's
completely
basically it.
backwards.
But that, listeners, is a reference to the industry these days where songwriters and artists, for that matter, aren't getting paid very much by streaming. So they're selling merchandise and getting on the road where possible. That's kind of the only two financial streams you can find nowadays, right?
Right, pretty much, yeah.
But
Unless you
that's
can buy
that,
it,
that's difficult.
unless you get a placement in a film or TV or
Yeah,
whatever. I mean,
right.
that's another avenue, but mostly that.
That's really difficult these days.
And it's very hard because, in order to tour, you have to have an agent. And, you have to have a following to get an agent, it's like the domino stack, It's very tough. And there's not a lot of people that do what I do, like developing bands, so, you know.
That's a tough road, because there's a period of time where there's no financial gain. You're introducing them. You're going through the whole birth of the band. That's a tough way to do it.
Well, I do it as a management consultant and I get paid. There's very few that I go into just as a 20% manager because there's just no way to make money in the beginning.
No, no, there's hardly any way to make money otherwise.
Right.
You see the big names, but after that, but that's always been the case. The big names drew people into the business and into the music, and hopefully they found some of the other artists that were readily available.
True.
So I wanted to in the book of poetry. Is there a favorite? Do you have a favorite in there somewhere that you want to? I don't want to say explain. It's like explaining lyrics, but
I kind of like Sharks and Snakes is kind of one of my favorite ones. Oh, I don't know.
yeah, the book there. Can you read from it a little bit?
You want me to read Sharks and Snakes or?
Sure.
Okay. Or I could read a nice one if you want, but I think Sharks and Snakes is kind of the overall sort of theme. Sharks and snakes and other animals. Throw me into the snake pit where I am numb from poisonous venom. Chop me up into little bloody squares and feed me to the sharks for a midday snack. Live and learn, as this is an entertainment tell-all. I know there is no loyalty, it's all just target practice. Better make sure you are legally bulletproof while wearing a heart made of stone. It's a cutthroat business where grinning, laughing hyenas give you the riddle or smile. Charming, conniving leopards pretend to change their spots just for a short time until they walk away with your jackpot. But never be the victim, instead, be the three monkeys. Hear, see, and speak no evil. It's all fun and games. There are no rules. Just be the victor at all costs, then exit with a parade wave.
That's one of those ones that sounds like you were a little ticked off at the time,
Wow. Yeah.
or frustrated at least.
There, I mean, just the industry in general is very tough, but being a woman in the industry is even tougher, I think. So
I was going to ask about
I
that.
think my anger is warranted. So,
Well, yeah, warranted. I wasn't saying it wasn't warranted. I understand, but you had this outlet to let people know, and now even more people know how it felt at that time. What let's say era was that written?
oh, that one I just wrote when I was in Italy in like April, so
Oh, that's
it's pretty new. But a lot of them I wrote in the 80s.
uh-huh.
You know how your new work is always the best. So in your mind as an artist, so
Sure. Can you um can you sit back and read and remember where you were and what it's about and all that? Because it's a lot of poems.
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I put them into categories of like the last 3 years and then, in different areas. So I remember when I wrote them.
Okay. I'm gonna
Most of them were like dated, but I didn't put the dates in the book.
that would have been nice. That would have been fun for readers.
Well, that's why it's veiled illusions, Mike. You're not supposed to know exactly what it's about.
uh, okay, I get it.
I don't need to get sued by any. But
Veiled Illusion is the name of the book, and book of poetry that's coming out. We're going to slide into a commercial right now. We're gonna play a track I've always thought was great by Poison. Every Rose Has a Thorn, which is It's just a very cool song. And we'll listen to that and be back to the Mike Gormley Show with our guest, Vicky Hamilton, in a minute.